Welcome. You're watching Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life, with your host, Danny Pabone and Rifle Scudder.
Welcome to another episode of Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life. As always, I'm joined here with my friend Rifle. How are you doing, sir?
Doing very well, thank you. Very excited for the weekend. So 2 more sleeps, and then we'll have some wonderful rugby games again. So can't wait.
Yes, same here. And Rifle's referring to week 4 of the Six Nations series with the much anticipated match between France and Ireland. I believe they're playing in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. So that's gonna be a huge match that might potentially decide who the winner is going to be of the Six Nations series, depending on the outcome of the game. So the whole rugby world is anticipating that game, and from what I hear, you know, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit at the beginning of the episode, is France going with your favorite 7-1 split on the reserves on the bench. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That they're coming out with that against Ireland.
they tried that last game. It worked for them, but they didn't play a very strong side last time. You know, Italy did not do well. So we'll see how it goes. They've had a couple of issues in their back line, just dropping players, and there's some talk about clashes between coach and players and so on. But it's going to be interesting to see who they play what position, because they haven't mentioned who's going to play what position yet. So what they're going to do with their 7-1, who they're going to put in the backs at what position, we'll have to find out on Saturday. But it's obviously you're taking a huge chance doing that. You must be very certain that someone can fall into another position and not specifically the position that they picked for if you go with a 7-1 split, because the danger of anyone in the back line getting hurt. You got to mix and match at the back to make up for the hurt play if you've only got one coming off the bench. So it's going to be very interesting to see, but it's obviously clear what they're going to try and do is keep the ball with the forwards, not give the ball away. And the French have got huge forwards. I mean, goodness me, that pack of theirs is gigantic. So it's going to be a very interesting game to see how Ireland are going to attack that. Ty Furlough's back in. He was injured for a couple of weeks, so that's very, very good for the Irish. So he's back at prop, and he's an amazing, scrummer. So they're definitely going to need him. So I'm wondering if he does come back and they play him maybe, I don't know, first half an hour, 40 until halftime, try and get as much out of him as they can, because he hasn't played for quite a few games, and see if he can just try and take the brunt of the French scrum and do as little bit of damage as they can, because those French are coming with a 7-1 split. You know exactly what they're trying to do, and I don't know if the Irish forwards will be able to hold him off. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they counter attack, what they're going to do. So really, really looking for the game, looking forward to the game, but also looking forward to see what Gautier, who he's going to play in the French backline at what position. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I know you had sent me a video of other podcaster who you've mentioned a few times on this podcast, Egg Chasers, and he was just remembering the game that I think it was 2023 with the Irish and France in the Six Nations, and how the Irish dominated with their front eight, and he suspects, that Gautier, who is the coach for France, still remembers that name, that game,
Mm.
and he wants to bring in, 7 forwards to, because for those who don't know, and this is a very interesting aspect of the game, and the South African team with Rassie are the ones that really pushed uh, this 7-1 split, with them actually doing it in the World Cup 2023 World Cup. So, I remember you mentioning that, everyone was like, what? 7-1 split in the World Cup? That's crazy. But essentially, just for those who, watching this episode, who hopefully are becoming fans of the game of rugby, the 7-1 split refers to having, just like Rifle just mentioned, 7 forwards and 1 back. So essentially, you're talking about players that are involved in the scrum, and what that brings is you could bring those 7 players in the second half with, usually they put them in with like 20 or 30 minutes left in the game, and now you have fresh legs. Now the problem with that is, God forbid one of your backs gets hurt or two get injured for whatever reason during the game. Now you have to have players with experience in those positions, because now you got to put players in those positions. So that's the risk that you run, is if you have more than one injury, now you have a player that doesn't play that position playing that position, and you hope that that player has some experience playing that position. And that's the beauty with, with France and South Africa, is they have so much depth, and just again, and I've mentioned this before, they're spoiled with so much talent that, these are two teams that are able to do that 7-1 split, where probably other lesser nations, that are not a powerhouse in rugby, probably don't have the talent to do that 7-1 split. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see this game. And like I said, Cartier, the coach of France, remembering that game into 2023, from what I hear, I'm sure played a big role in him making this decision of doing the 7-1 split for this game.
Yeah, they've they lost to England, which they shouldn't have in their eyes. England was lucky to win that game, but they did. So they have to win tomorrow by quite a couple of points to try, because they're a bonus point behind, a couple of bonus points behind Ireland. So tomorrow, if Ireland win, so to say, done and dusted. But France are still in it. England are still in it as well. They've got a slim chance. But if France can win tomorrow with a bonus point and prevent Ireland from getting close within 5 points or so, they could be leading, and then they could win. So tomorrow could, as you said in the beginning, could be the final decision-making game of the Six Nations, even though we've got another weekend of rugby to go. So it's everything to play for tomorrow between these two. So on Saturday, sorry, it's going to be amazing.
Yes, yes, it is, and it might be another, edge of my seat game, where it's gonna be the last 10 minutes of the game, and it's just gonna, you don't know who's gonna win. So
I don't know
hopefully,
if you've
I'm
I
sorry.
don't know if you've seen this, but I can't remember what the year was, but France played against Ireland in football, soccer, yeah. And Thierry Henry played and
Mhm.
had a handball. I don't know if you know about that situation.
I
And,
know Tara Hari, because he came to the United States to finish off his career, but I don't know that
and then,
specific situation. Yeah.
okay, in this game, he had a handball, and they allowed the the goal. So it should not have been allowed, and France went through. So Ireland were absolutely livid because of the handball from Thierry Henry, and they won. So this week they had Thierry Henry coming to speak to the French players. So he's in the, their meeting room or whatever, talking to the guys. So they got a photo of him talking to the French rugby team. So I mean, that's the next thing in the world of rugby now. It's Thierry Henry who got the handball against Ireland, and Ireland should have won. He's talking to the team. So they really, the mind games are
Uh,
playing very, very well for these two. So they're going at it even before the game off the field. So any tactic you can use to just rival the other team up and try and rattle their cage. So they're doing that. So it
I
should be a
love it.
good game.
A subliminal message to
Yes.
the Irish.
Yeah, most
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. That's just crazy. And hopefully, every most are anticipating that's going to be a great game, and I hope it is, and it's not a blowout by one team or the other, which I doubt. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, on the day
Uh,
anything can happen.
yes, yes. And if um and and that's the thing. The last thing I want to say about this game is because our episode today is we're gonna be showing some love to the women's side of rugby. Um, but but the thing I think of at least is with the slaughter that France gave to Italy, but Italy is not Ireland.
Mm,
But on the other hand, is if France plays like they played against Italy, where they were hitting on all cylinders, they were hitting on defense, on kicks, on just everything physical. I mean, they were hitting on all cylinders in that game. So if that France team shows up, Ireland is gonna have a handful. So again, can't wait for the Saturday.
yeah, I think they can have their hands full no matter what. Both teams.
Yes, yes. So yeah. So and we're gonna have um, two great scrum halves, Dupont for France and Gimson Park for Ireland. At the helm, and I've mentioned it many times. Both players have been great. Well, except for Dupont against England, he had an off game. But
Yeah.
other than that, both scrum halves for both teams have had an amazing Six Nations series play, and I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
Them two
Individual
battling out.
players against one another. Yeah, it'll be good.
Yes. So with that, everyone, we're gonna get to what we want to cover in this episode, and that is the women's. If you do not know, Rugby World Cup 2025 will be taking place in England. So we wanted to, and that's in a few months in August is the tournament is going to start. So we wanted just to cover that and go over a little bit about the Women's World Cup. So let's get right to it. And here we go. Again, England is going to be hosting the Women's Rugby World Cup. And to be honest with you, I had to do some digging because over the past year and a half or two, I've been really mainly focused on the men's side and not necessarily the women's side. And I know you, Rifle, you follow women's very sparingly. You're more you follow more the men's rugby, and so but we wanted to show some love to the women's because the U.S. is women's team is actually ranked in the top 10 in the world. And just from doing a little reading and research on the history, they actually won, if I'm not mistaken, the very first Rugby World Cup, Women's World Cup, in '91. So yeah, they were the first champions of the Rugby World Cup, of the very first one, the U.S. Women's team. So that was pretty cool to learn. And so these are the current rankings as of March 3rd. And like I said, USA is ranked number 9 in the world, the women's team. And I know you had mentioned this before. I don't see South Africa. So,
No, South Africa women also play. They make it, but
yes.
they're not ranked in the top 10. So
Okay.
they're playing, trying to get better. I just watched a program or documentary, actually, maybe about three or 4 weeks ago, where Sia Kolisi was with a woman and helping them and so on. So that boosted, their confidence a lot and trying to get more ladies to play rugby. So they're trying, but definitely, not as powerful as the men are. But they're growing and getting better, so that's good. But definitely not top 10. But they do make it into the World Cup, so they do play.
Yeah, yeah. That they're in. They qualified for the World Cup, and we're gonna go over the different pools. There's 4 pools. We'll go over that in a couple of minutes or so. So the first match is gonna be against England and USA, and England is currently favored to win the Rugby World Cup at the moment. So that's gonna be a very a very tough game for the US to start with England, being that they're ranked number 1. I read they've won their last 20 matches, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. So they're on a 20 match winning streak. They're ranked
And they're
number
playing at
one,
home,
and they're playing at home.
so that makes it even more difficult. You go to any
Yes.
country to play against the home side, that makes it tougher. So all
So
the best to
yes,
the US ladies for taking on the favorites for the tournament in their backyard. So it's going to be a tough game to open the competition with for them.
yes. And to whoever schedules whoever scheduled this Rugby World Cup, come on. Why did you have to put the US against England for the first game? But that's what it is. And so yeah, so the first match is going to be on August 22nd. And again, that's going to be England versus US. And I just put a picture of the stadium there. It's going to be in Sunderland, UK. And the last match of the tournament, which would be the final game for whoever wins. Obviously, is going to be Rugby World Cup champions. Uh, it's going to be held at Twickenham Stadium in London, and that's going to be on the 27th of September. So yes, it's going to be pretty cool to follow this in the summer, alongside of you have the rugby championship as well going on. So we're gonna have two different tournaments going on. So it's gonna be a very exciting summer in rugby.
Definitely, yeah. A lot of rugby coming up, so there are a lot of games. So it's going to be a great year of rugby.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So there you go. Um, the other fascinating thing that I've read, um, New Zealand has won 6 of the 8 Rugby World Cups, Women's Rugby World Cups. So yeah, so there've been 8 played so far, and New Zealand has won 6. So I don't know. That I guess that's called domination.
Yeah, it's an
Needless
amazing
to
country.
say.
I mean, rugby wise, if you think of their population, I think they 5 or 6 million people.
Yeah,
The
about
whole
6 million.
population. So how many of those are women? And then they still men as well. I mean, they compare to other bigger nations. Number wise, they're just not there. but my goodness, they're always 1, 2, 3. They top of the world, men and women. And if you go to the sevens for New Zealand, it's exactly the same. Their sevens aside is powerful, men and women. So they are just probably, the best rugby nation if you take all of their teams together on aggregate to see how many World Cups and trophies they have. So all the best in New Zealand. They're just phenomenal. They're good.
Yes.
Got to give them that.
And New Zealand won the last Rugby World Cup against, and they played England, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so the only two teams with one Rugby World Cup championship is the US with one and England with one. And then all the other women's Rugby World Cups have been won by New Zealand. So wow, that's an amazing feat.
Yeah, but number
Crazy.
2 there, Canada. So it's amazing that the women's teams of America and Canada
Yeah.
are ranked so high in the world, so that hopefully the men can catch up with the women where rugby is concerned for America and Canada. So you got some stronger teams from the northern Americas to put it that way, because Canada they've played in World Cups before the men, America as well, but hopefully the men can get a bit stronger and try and catch up to what the women are doing.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a parallel, in soccer or football for the rest of the world. Again, the U.S. women's team is very dominant in the world, and the men's is not so much. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a parallel between rugby and men's and women's and soccer. So yeah, yeah, again, we just leading up to the 2031 Rugby World Cup, the men's Rugby World Cup. Um, yeah, it's going to be exciting to see where the men's rugby team, national rugby team is at that time. So yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
So within the Women's Rugby World Cup, there's 4 pools with 4 teams. So, like we have mentioned in our actually 2 episodes ago, when we were talking about the men's 2027 World Cup, uh, the men's have 24 teams. Women's currently have 16 teams that compete in the tournament. And we have Pool A, which the U.S. is part of, with sorry, and we have England, Australia, U.S., and Samoa, and then we have all the other 3, Pool B, Pool C, and Pool D here. And South Africa women's team is in Pool D
Pool D,
with
correct, yeah.
pretty cool. So with France, and it seems like just from a ranking point of view, it seems like all the pools, and I don't, I have to be honest, I really didn't read into how the teams were selected, because I believe it's just I'm guessing it's the same for the men's Rugby World Cup. I didn't really read into that, but from what I see, just surface level, uh, analyzing this, is it looks like all 4 pools are pretty even
Yeah,
from a
difficult to
ranking
find a pool
standpoint.
of death here.
Yes, and that's thank you. That's what I was going for. It looks like all 4 pools are pretty even. Again, on paper.
Yeah. But I don't
And
think the the difference in quality is as big in the women's rugby as what it is in the men's.
mm,
So if you play men's rugby and you got top tier countries playing against nations that are starting. You've seen scores of 76-3, 85-7, things like that. Where in the
Yes.
woman, I'm not sure, but I don't think that the best teams are that far ahead of others. So it's going to be more evenly. So as we just said, now it's going to be harder to find one pool where you say, man, this is, well, any the two or three that can go through, and that to win it. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's well, I'm suspecting again, just doing a surface view of everything, like a 30 foot, 30,000 foot eye view of everything. They pretty much look pretty evenly matched. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be pretty cool to watch to how everything turns out. And and again, the fact that the U.S. is starting off with playing England. Ugh, gonna be a tough. You never know. Maybe they'll pull a miracle and pull out a
Yeah.
huge upset. You know,
That would be
that'd
wonderful,
be
yeah, for
yeah, that'd
America.
be pretty cool to see. Pretty cool
Uh,
to see. And the reason I say that is because in Paris, and I'm just gonna move on. In Paris 2024, the women's sevens team won bronze in the Olympics, and so they've had some success in rugby um, last year, the women's sevens team. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and I'm interested to learn, and maybe we'll definitely talk about this in a future episode, the difference between 15s and sevens. The difference, obviously, there's a difference. There's seven and there's 15. But I'm interested to hopefully we could talk about this in a future episode. Uh, what positions you have in sevens and the different. Obviously, it's going to be different strategies, different play because you have less players. So yeah, I'm very interested to learn about that in the future.
the
And
biggest the biggest thing just off the bat quick is there's no scrum, so you don't have the 8 forwards.
okay, yeah, I kind of
So
figured
that's
that.
the biggest
Yep.
thing. So it's a quick game. It's running all the time. There's no break, stop, okay, scrum, okay, reset. There's none. You put the ball in, three players go, put a ball and you throw it back. So I mean it's 7 minutes, 1 minute break, 7 minutes. So it's running. I mean the fitness in this level of rugby is off the charts. It's
Okay,
15 minutes
interesting.
of just flat out going. So there's no, as I say, like big lineouts where you can take 10 seconds to rest or catch your breath, or while the scrum's collapsing, there's none of that. So just in a nutshell, that's the difference, is they take away the scrums, so the ball's just going all the time.
Oh, okay, interesting. And there's only 7 minute, so there's
I
two.
believe it's 7 minutes, 1 minute halftime, 7 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it's a very quick game.
Yeah. And
Cool,
the kick, when
interesting.
they kick to post, you don't put it on a tee, you drop kick it. So everything is just to make the game flow, just to get it as quick as possible.
Cool. And and I know I said I didn't want to go too deep, but one last thing on the sevens is there's no line out
I'm not
or
quite sure about
anything
that.
like that.
I'm not
Okay.
sure about the lineouts, what the rules are concerning now. But it's not, when they throw in, it's not like we are used to having the 8 forwards and you got the
Hmm.
10 meters apart, you got the line in the middle. It's just to put it in and get the ball going. So I don't know 100% what the rules or the laws are, but there is a throw in. But it's not like we are used to in the 15 aside match.
Interesting. Cool. Pretty
Very
cool.
quick
So
game.
yeah. So yeah. So definitely have to do an episode on that, just to cover the intricacies and the difference between the 15s and the sevens. That'd be pretty cool to learn and see. And the reason we mentioned this is because I know you had mentioned up and coming player by the name, and she was part of the sevens team, Alona Mayer. I know you had mentioned it to me, and she was part of the 2024 uh, bronze winning team in the women's rugby sevens. And just reading her background, it was just very interesting to find out that she didn't actually start playing rugby until she got to college. So that was very interesting to find out. Um,
Yeah, she's a superstar in women's rugby. I mean, she got signed now with the Bristol Bears. So she's playing for the Bears. I mean, she has a social media following that is
mm,
just absolutely huge. So a big, big, big name in women's sports right now, not just rugby. So a lot of followers, but she's one of those that can play in both. So it's not often that you see people who can switch over from seven aside to the 15 or vice versa. So you normally pick your genre. Are you in the quick seven or do you prefer the 15? But she has switched over. So she was one of the players, as you just correctly said, who won the bronze medal. But she's phenomenal and people look up to her and what a personality and she got YouTube channels where she talks. So just a wonderful player. I mean, I don't know, but just seems like an amazing person and just really empowering women and ladies to be the best in what they can be because she herself says she's larger than normal women, but
mhm.
that doesn't hold her back from being a superstar and playing something that she enjoys the rugby. So maybe
Yeah.
she couldn't do other sport, but rugby has given her this platform and opportunity to play something that she's very, very good at, but she enjoys it as well. So she's just brilliant all around. She's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think I read that her father was also a collegiate rugby player as well. Uh, I read. So yeah, rugby runs in the family, and it was interesting being that her father played rugby at the collegiate level. Uh, that she waited until college to play rugby, although she was a multi-sport athlete in high school, from what I read. So
Yeah,
uh,
from Vermont.
yeah, so she's just naturally gifted in sports. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was. Um, I'm not gonna say. Let me just say relatively easy for her to transition because I think she was a swimmer and I forget the other sport that she was playing. She played in high school, so it's amazing to watch her transition from the sports that she played in high school to being a very dominant player in rugby. So
yeah, one of the
just
best in the world. Yeah,
yeah. So it
signed.
just goes to show you that she has that natural talent.
Yeah,
I'm
all
guessing that she
sense
was
and
born with.
grit, working very hard. Yeah, so she, as I say, signed by the Bristol Bears and loving it over there, and she wants to go back. So we'll see. We'll definitely follow her. I enjoy what she's doing. So yeah, definitely want to look out for. Very proud of her.
Yes. And Ilona, if you ever watch this, we would love to have you on the podcast and interview you. So you never know. Could be one of our future guests.
That would be wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, well, maybe we'll have to start emailing. I don't know who you email to get in contact with her, but you never know. Yeah, should be interesting. And again, you introduced me to her, and I wasn't aware of her, but just over the past week or so, just reading up on her history, she looks like a woman
She's a
that's
star. Yeah.
yes, definitely,
She's a star.
and the most followed rugby player. So that goes in the world.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
goes to show you what star power she has. So
Yeah. No,
yeah, it's
she's
pretty cool.
amazing all round.
Pretty
Good
cool.
for her. Yeah. Well done, Alona.
Yes. So yeah, so again in this episode we just wanted to show some love to the women's side of rugby, being that again the U.S. National team is actually ranked in the top 10 in the world. So that's pretty cool to see. And the head coach, another thing that I read was the head coach of of the women's national team, uh, also a actually played collegiate football in Utah, if I'm not mistaken. I read, and he also played rugby. So the coach, the current coach of the women's rugby national team for the U.S. is a football slash rugby player, collegiate player. So yeah, pretty cool to see.
Mm.
And so again, just want to wish the U.S. women's, and I'm sure we're gonna just in the summer cover the tournament when it happens on the podcast. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of exciting, like you said, Rifle, a lot of exciting rugby in the summer of 2025. Looking
Yep.
forward to that. So just wanted to finish the episode, just sharing week four uh, Six Nations match schedule. Again, the much anticipated game between Ireland and France. So that's going to be the first game on Saturday. So that's pretty cool. Start off. We have Scotland and Wales, second game on Saturday, and then on Sunday we have England and Italy. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting if France uh, beats Ireland and gets the bonus point and manages to keep the game, um, the winning margin more than seven. Because remember, if everybody, if Ireland loses but keeps the score to within seven, they get 1 point. And if they score four tries, even if they lose, and they keep the score within seven, they get 2 points. So if France manages to win big by more than seven, and somehow keeps Ireland from scoring four tries, that means Ireland's gonna get 0 points and France is gonna get five. And then we have England could be Italy. I mean, if that happens, it's just gonna throw everything to a loop, and it's gonna come down to the last week of the tournament
Yeah.
to see
That's
who
that's nice.
wins.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Scenarios that could play out that could
Yeah.
throw this whole you know tournament and the point system into a loop,
Yeah.
and this
It
is gonna be
will
very
be
interesting.
great if the final week has to be played to see who the winner is going to be, because it's not fun if you know in week three who's the winner is already, or week four. So it
Yeah.
would be wonderful if something does happen. So you have to watch the last week to see who the winners are going to be.
Yep. And yeah, it is. So I'm pulling for France to win and win by at least 8 points and keep Ireland to three tries or less.
Yeah, very possible. We'll wait and see how that 7-1 split works for them.
Yes, yes. And then England, I know you're a huge fan of England. Um, so yeah, we'll see if England could pull out a win against Italy. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're doing something. I don't know what they're doing, but they've taken uh, Marcus Smith. He was their playmaker throughout, almost the whole year, and everyone was talking about him. And they've put him on the bench, and they've put Finn Smith on his fly half. So I don't know what they're trying there. I don't know if they're doing it because it's Italy. I don't know. So that's going to be interesting to see what their plan is, taking Marcus Smith, who was the playmaker in the team, and not even starting him, putting him on the bench. So we'll have to see what that's all about on Sunday.
Mm,
But yeah, we'll wait and see.
yeah. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. So, again, looking forward to this weekend with week 4 of Six Nations. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. We wanted to give some love to the women's side of rugby, being that the women's are gonna have their rugby World Cup tournament in the summer in England 2025. So yeah, it's gonna be an exciting summer of rugby. Pretty cool to watch. So as always, my friend Rifle, thank you.
Very welcome. Thanks everyone
And
for watching.
yes, and everybody tune into our next episode where we're going to cover week 4 of Six Nations 2025. So with that, everybody, I hope they enjoy this episode. And until next time, take care, everybody.
Stay well. Cheers.
Thank you for watching this episode of Rugby with Rifle. Remember to press the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to support this podcast.